Hello and good afternoon to each of you. By the time you receive this message, you'll probably be returning from lunch. I hope you hadn't ate too much food at Pearls. You didn't eat too much dashin. You didn't eat too much fig. And you're not returning to work in a diabetic coma and that you're irritable and unable to perform your function. However, on this afternoon, I wish to dedicate this message and call this message an open letter and an open communications to the acting Registra on the island nation state of Dominica, Mrs. Etienne, to the Chief Register, Mrs. John-Theobalds on the island of St. Lucia, to the Justices of the Appeals Court, to the Minister of National Security, and to the Attorney General of the island nation state of Dominica. I would like to let you know that I have had to undertake some unprecedented things in the last 12 years to address the malfunctioning of the judiciary and to address the issues that I have in the court, in the judiciary. Now, many of you have come to know me over that time. And in that period, you have allowed your prejudices, your prejudices, to get in your way of understanding really what my issues are and why I had to take these unconventional actions the same way that I'm taking this unconventional approach to communicate with you. Because no matter how many emails I send to Mrs. Etienne, no matter how many emails I've copied Mrs. Theobalds on, no matter how many emails I've sent to the case manager, I have not received a response. So what we have here is a situation called a failure to communicate. And to the other councils on the island of Dominica, and those of you who are privy to me and to my operations and to my struggle and to my fight, those of you who want to be critical, you must reserve your criticism. You must swallow it, and if need be, you should choke on it because you don't understand what I face. You do not understand that I've had a case languishing before the court for 13 years, and that case was brought by Silma Dupini, and Silma Dupini has no grounds and no standing for that case. But yet the system has been able to let it fester for 13 years. And Silma Dupini is being paid by an individual because in Dominica, as you know, the attorney class are very anxious, very hungry because there's no work. So whatever a person come to you, so long as they have the money, you'll take the case. I've seen many appellate cases and decisions where you could know ahead of time there was no need to bring the appeal because there were no grounds. Some of these people had jobs that were political appointees. If you're a political appointee, you are not a regular civil servant. Your job is not secure. So if they put you in charge of DBS and they fire you, go on your merry way. Don't go appealing. If they put you in charge of Aid Bank and they got rid of you, it's a political position. My issue is not political. My issue is that of an ordinary citizen. And imagine for 13 years, and I hired Carol Shillingford. I hired Joshua Francis. And they let Michael Bruni lead them around like a little puppy on a string. And they had no tact. They had no tact, no plan. After I paid them, they wouldn't talk to me. And that's a typical attorney-client relationship. The attorneys all want their money up front. You pay them up front. They cannot ever tell you what they're going to get you. And then when you call them, when you try to correspond with them, when you try to talk and tell them how you want your case presented, they don't want to listen to you because, quote unquote, they graduated with honors, they know better than you, and they feel like they can, and then you sit there and you listen to them speak. You look at what they present and you say, no, this is not what I told you. This is not what I want. This is not the approach I want you to take. So we started way back in 2010. In 2010, when this man invaded my estate and is attempting to steal 13 acres of land for me that his father, and all of you know, all of you justices, all of you attorneys know, respectable Caribbean man or Dominican man is going to write a will and leave out 13 acres of land that he knows he has, and he puts all his other land in. He accounts for his furniture, but he doesn't talk about this 13 acres. And Miss Dupin is coming before the court to redefine the concept of the residual clause of a will and saying that, hey, this comes under the man's residue, but there is no reference, not even a vague reference to that land in his probated will. And I hired two attorneys, Joshua Francis and Carol Shillingford, and they had nothing. They couldn't see anything. They couldn't bring any pre-trial, what you call pre-trial motions. You can handle a case by coming up with dispositive motions before trial to knock out certain things and to get certain rulings. That doesn't happen on Dominica. You can sanction the adversarial attorney if they're not acting properly. You can ask for the recusal of a judge. When I asked my attorney to ask for the recusal of Justice Stevenson, she told me, oh, she's afraid to do that because she may have other matters before Justice Stevenson, which implied that Justice Stevenson could be prejudicial to her and could be somewhat retributive. So to those of you who look at this guy and they say, look at this guy, he's so crazy, this guy is so unorthodox, and he just talking bad about us, and he insulting us, and he just making us more angry, more fashy, and more buoy, and now we out to get him. We're going to do things to sabotage him. You all started with sabotage. Mikey carried out sabotage. And where is Mikey today? Mikey is no longer amongst the living. Mikey is no longer amongst the living. And since this case has started, I've lost my wife. I've lost my key witnesses. And Mikey, who was my adversary, has also gone. And similarly, in another case with Anthony Commodore tied me up for 8 years. 8 years, and he never advanced a single argument in his case. But Judge Stevenson granted his wishes, gave him caveats, and what did he do? He had a key witness with him called Peter Joseph. Peter Joseph died first from prostate cancer, and I suspect Anthony also died from prostate cancer. So if you look at my history and my litany, you'll see that there are lots of dead people who are involved with me, and most of all those who have been closest to me, including my wife of 30 years. So why would you want to continue to have me entangled with you? And I said that, and I said it, and I said it. And one thing I have to give Justice Stevenson respect for is her last act before she left Dominica. She made sure that she got my two cases to go current and to put them on the docket. Did she do that because I was being nice and polite? Did she do that because I kept sending emails and trying to get Walsh to do something? No, she didn't. She didn't respond to that. What she responded to is the YouTube videos, a luta continua. Fight the powers that be. And so when I went online and I said, let me take advantage. Many people think the internet is for making jokes, for singing and dancing, and for showing off and for having sex. That is not what it's here for me. But it's a way to get past the gatekeepers. When you think you're not going to answer my email, when you think you're not going to respond to my question, then I make it public. I let the whole world know. I let your superiors know. I let the appellate justices know. I let the Minister of National Security know. I let the Attorney General know. I let the general population know. And you can go on doing what you're doing and think that, hey, we're going to sabotage Lander. But Lander is telling you, do not mess with Lander. This year, Lander settles all family business, all scores, and you included. And I'm telling you, I wrote to you 3 times. I told you I bring an application. I spent over $30,000 to register 25 acres of land. And you have not given me an acknowledgement. I don't know where that application is. Did it go down a white hole? Did it go down a pink hole? Did it go down a black hole? They like to say it's a black hole. But what if it went down the pink hole? Where is my application? If for any reason someone came and said they're caveating that application, the registry has an obligation to inform me. And I wrote to you and told you I have never been informed. Since 2014, I have not been informed of any action that you have taken in the form of a caveat against this application. I brought another application in 2016 for 1.426 acres of land. And again, I've never received an acknowledgement saying, hey, dog, this is your application. We're in receipt of it. We're reviewing it and we'll get back to you. I haven't. I have my documents. I have my proof of submitting this application. I've never been told either that the application was caveated. So, as you all know, I love to communicate. I love to speak to the other side and I hold no grudges. But naturally, everything is fair in love and war. And basically, we're at war. And I should not be at war with the judiciary. I should not be at war with the registrar. You should be doing your jobs and your obligation, which you take as your oath of office. And nowhere in the world, last week I had a case. You see, the Supreme Court in Dominica is analogous to the federal court in the United States of America. I've been down all week. Some one of you sent voodoo to make me sick. I got infected. I was ill for a week. I'm just now coming back up. As you see, most of my communications now are from bed. I've been reduced to working mostly from bed. I'm almost like Hugh Hefner, except I don't have the women and all of the fancy things. Now, what is it that I'm doing? So I'm telling you that YouTube, the internet, is not for dancing and singing and for laughing, but it's to address important matters, the discourse. And the discourse today is that we have, again, a failure to communicate. We have a failure to communicate, and when people have failures to communicate, it leads to conflict. You see it all over the world. That's why the world is in a state of war, and I've always told people at the turn of a great century, at the turn of a millennium, there's going to be upheaval, and this year 2023 is going to be no different. It's going to be more wars in the east, wars in the west, northwest, southeast, whatever coordinates you want it to be in. But our issue, which is a local issue, are my cases. My cases did not become current because I was silent and I was timid and I was intimidated. They became current because I spoke up and I took this action which irritated a lot of you. And even on my last hearing on the 13th of January, one of you in the courthouse tried to send me a misleading email to tell me your matter was reset to another date. So you see all these little games you all are playing. And until I send a medicine for the people playing that games, until I make you sick, until I make your children sick, you wouldn't stop. But I am sending a medicine for you. I'm sending a healing for you. And you're going to quit screwing around with me and with my matters. And then when I send an official email to the registrar, the acting registrar, okay, remember you acting. Those guys in the ministry, Levi, Scarrett, all of whom are friends of mine, may decide not to make you full-time registrar because you are violating the rights of the voodoo master. You are not playing by the rules, and I shouldn't have to write to you multiple times, and I shouldn't have to send you an open letter. You see, this is what in the traditional sense is an open letter that the bourgeoisie and the prominent members of society would write, and even Donald Trump took one out in the 80s for the Central Park Five, saying how they were predators and they should be executed, and he put that letter in the New York Times or the Washington Post. Well, thank God today we have YouTube. Thank God today we have Facebook. Thank God today we have Twitter. And all the governments of the world and the leaders of the world and who want to get their messages out, they use Twitter. So they bypass everybody and everything. I now, Peter Emmanuel, the self-appointed leader of God's Electronic Army, the chief editor of God Electronic Army Press, and the founder of the Avenging Army of Francois Macandal, have chosen to use the video medium to speak to you and to let you know that I am dissatisfied, I am unhappy. We had a hearing on the 13th. Out of that hearing supposed to come a report. Out of that hearing supposed to come instructions that the judge is supposed to give to the registrar. I am supposed to get copies of that. I am supposed to get a summary of what the decisions were. And like I was telling you, last week I was sick. I had a hearing. I simply called the clerk to the court. Overnight, he sent an order rescheduling the hearing. And believe me, the federal court has way more cases than Dominica can ever have. And the judge doesn't have 5 or 6 clerks. She only has 1. And yet they are responsive and responsible enough to communicate with anyone who has matters before their court. They give you a scheduled hearing. They give you a conference hearing. They tell you to talk to one another. Try and settle before we get to trial. And we all go and we do what's called pre-trial motions. Motion to dismiss. Motions for sanctions. Motions for this and a motion for that. Kara and Joshua never did a motion for this or motion for that. Mikey led her like a little moth on a string. And Mikey put my case into an appeal when it didn't need to go to an appeal. And Justice Stevenson went along with the whole plan. And so 13 years later, Miss Dupini didn't go to the court and say, let's get it on the docket. Miss Dupini didn't write to you. She didn't call you. If she wrote to you and she called you, you would answer the phone right away. But when it's Peter Lander, you say, who is Mr.? Who is Mr.? What Mr. want? Boy, hang up on Mr. Boy, throw Mr. email in the trash. But I come to tell you today, we have to stop this failure to communicate. And you need to get back to me with the answers about my 2 missing applications. You need to get back to me about the outcome of the hearing on the 13th of January 2023 and to publish, to promulgate, how the word is said. I'm not the best English speaker, by the way, but it means to publish and to make available to everyone what was said and what was agreed to on the 13th. And so I'm not going to ask you again. I'm letting you be noticed by this video that this is an open letter and open communications for all who come now and forever to see a message to Mrs. Etienne, a message to Mrs. Theobalds with courtesy copies to the justices of the appeals court, to the Attorney General, and to the dear leader himself to let you all know that enough is enough. Even while I have worked diligently, sacrificed, struggled, and fought to bring my cases current and to demand that they be heard and I be given this verdict in my favor because it can be nothing else. You try, even at this 11th hour, to undermine me, to sabotage me, and to find ways to create new obstacles by sending fake emails. And we had a disastrous situation on the 11th of November 2022 when my lady had agreed to give me a ruling on my applications into what turned out to be another frivolous case. And the powers that be engineered so that I would miss the hearing in the hope that the person who was the plaintiff was represented by Anthony Commodore, and for 8 years Anthony Commodore, having sued me and served me by publication in a local Dominica paper, clearly with the hope that I'll never see it, never have a chance to respond. The lady never said, oh, we didn't hear from Mr. Lander, let's wait, let's try to reach him. She has all my information on file, right? And so, you know, things happen to people. It's something about me, I must tell you. It comes from my Auntie Eunice. When she died, she gave me her power. She was a seer. She was what you call a Gade Zafe. That what she. Everybody came from all over Dominica to the island, the village of Massac, to visit Auntie Eunice. And Auntie Eunice, on the day she died, she put me in my crib. I was about 2.5 years old, maybe three. And she went and she laid down and she died. And on that occasion, she transferred all her powers to me. And I'm telling you, without any doubt, I simply have to think of something and think of someone, and things happen. Walsh have gone the way that I wish for him. Joshua experienced the tribulations and the trials for neglecting my case. Cara has went on to become a prominent attorney. I hear she's giving Tony Astafan a run for his money. I'm very proud of her. I think I may have been a little harsh on her in the beginning, and for that I am contrite. I am contrite. And but the biggest problem on the island of Dominica when it comes to the attorney-client relationship is before you speak to an attorney, they demand these large sums of money from you with no real intent on delivering, and that can turn into another conflict, another failure to communicate, which can lead to a very terrible ending. For example, I asked someone to assist me, and the first thing they told me, let me have $5,000 to read your documents. And the problem with that is reading my documents is not going to explain to you and get you to understand the full narrative of what I'm dealing with. You have to be prepared to listen to me. You have to prepare to hear the narrative, and then to build an approach and a strategy of how you want to deal with it. And then we talk about the facts in the documents. But this individual said, give me 5,000 just to read it. Like I cannot read and I cannot write and I don't know what my matters are about. Okay, so I give you 5 to read it, and then how much else do you want? And all I wanted from them was to serve as an advisor. You know, you can have a licensed attorney. They don't have to try your case for you. They can just advise you. Okay, because sometimes when I see these people presenting and I hear them speaking, I know I can do better. I know I can do better. I have done better. I have done well. That is why my cases are current. If you look on the dockets and on the hearings, the only caveat matters are the caveat matters of Peter Lander. How did that come to be? Because Peter Lander has been for 13 years relentless, consistent, engaged in this struggle, in this fight for his justice, for his rights, and for his financial interests. And you're not going to take that away from me. And so I want to make it fundamentally clear, absolutely clear to each and every one of you. Those of you whom I've written to by email, you have 24 hours to answer my emails. You have 24 hours to respond to me. And if you do not, then you will be subjected to the fate of those who fail to communicate. A failure to communicate leads to confrontation, and confrontation will be sent your way. I make no apologies, and I say to you that when you decide you want to be a leader, when you want to be in charge, when you want to manage people, you have to do and execute your duties right, without favor and without bias to anyone. And when you try to be biased against Peter Lander, when you try to trick Peter Lander, you are going to pay the ultimate price. The ultimate price, and that ultimate price is life itself. Is life itself. And I make no apologies for those adversaries that have been vanquished, and for those else who will be vanquished, because God is on my side and God is in me, and I have the power of God in me. And when I speak things into being, they come into being. These cases didn't just become current because I've been sitting on my ass. They become current because of this same damn video you're looking at right now. and more will come. And don't let me go and light a fire and put your name in that fire. Answer my email. Tell me where my 2 applications are. Give me the outcome from the hearing of the 13th of January 2023. May God bless you. May Lord Jesus hold and comfort you and have mercy upon your soul. And may the wickedness and the evil that is in your heart, the grudges that you hold, the prejudice that you hold, be purged out of you in 2023. And may you do your duties without bias, without prejudice, and most of all, get Peter Lander out of your business. Give him what he came for so he can go. Get Mr. out of there. Mr. have zombie water, Mr. have zombie powder. Who else know what Mr. working with, boy? Anyway, this is a message to Marie Theresa-Etienne, Michelle John-Theobalds, with courtesy copies to their bosses, their managers, and the rest of the judiciary. As always, I remain your best friend, the only one who speaks to you and to speak to you in a firm and decisive way. And you don't have to like me, you don't have to love me, but you must indeed always fear me, for I would rather be feared than to be liked or to be loved. I will see you soon. I hope I don't have to do another, these videos are very taxing, it's not easy to sit up here and do a video, but if that's what I have to do, that's what I will do. I've been doing it for the last 13 years. What make you think I'm going to stop? What make you think I'm going to stop? What make you think I won't expose you? What make you think I won't publish that you have a green card or U.S. citizenship or an anchor baby or whatever your plans are? Don't mess with me. Don't mess with me, because each one of you at some point have to come to the United States for medical care. And a lot of you already do. So let's not go there. Just get me out. Get me out. Get me out. Give me my favorable verdicts, and I'll be on my way. And you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll continue to live your great life, to be a member of the bourgeoisie, to be a member of the elite, and to carry yourself with your nose high and to frown on the ordinary people. But I'm not one to be frowned on, because I'm a prince. I'm a leader. I'm strong. Strong like a young raging bull. Strong like a bull. And you don't want this bull to come chasing you down. Anyway, you got my message. I'm waiting. Answer my email. Tell me what happened to the 2 applications. Tell me what came out of that meeting on the 13th. And let's try to show some respect and professional courtesy to one another. I shouldn't have to beg you. I shouldn't have to hunt you down. I mean, come on now. It's about time. Mrs. Etienne, come on. I expect more from you. What is your purpose? What purpose do you serve? What purpose do you serve? What purpose do you serve if you cannot respond to a litigant's request for information? That is the question that you must answer. What purpose do you serve?
I don't want peace. I want problems always.